We are having a very ecumenical Sunday this Sunday because we've got a Franciscan and a Jesuit, as you've already heard. And I want to begin by quoting one of the greatest Franciscan theologians of all time. And I'm a very brave man to do it with Father Tony here, but let me go nonetheless. In the 13th century, St Bonaventure said that the 40 days of Lent were like the greatest time of human formation, that of bringing a child to birth, of being in the womb and then coming into the world. This was in a sermon he gave on the Sunday before Ash Wednesday, this Sunday, and he suggested to the community that the Lenten period could be then a time when we're reborn by God's amazing grace. Bonaventure appears to be the first theologian ever to talk of amazing grace and to link it to the formation of the womb that can bring us to be born again and again by God's love. Let me tell you a story about where that theory became reality in my life. In 1988, when I was a Jesuit seminarian and during the summer holidays, I worked in the pastoral care department of a big Catholic hospital in Brisbane, Australia. And at one stage, I met the charge nurse of the labour ward, pleading that because I was a celibate, I would never hold or see my own child born. I wondered whether I might come and watch a child being born while I was there. The charge nurse didn't think that would be a problem. But weeks and weeks and weeks went by. Apparently, a student priest watching you have a baby isn't the easiest sell in the world. But 6 weeks after the initial request, I got the call. I was to accompany, the charge nurse told me when I got to labour ward, a girl who was 16 years of age, had been dumped by her 15-year-old boyfriend who was the father of the child and shunned by her family. A kindly seminarian was better than no one at all for her. Can you believe her name was Mary? You couldn't make this up. The charge nurse told me on the way into the labour unit itself, "Look, I never told a lie about you, but I didn't tell the whole truth either. I asked Mary whether she would like a student to accompany her through her birth. I think that she thinks you're a student doctor, so for goodness sake, don't mention Jesus Christ for a little while yet." On arrival into the ward, I met a wonderful midwife who helped me do antenatal class 101 in 10 minutes. I was told to hold Mary's hand. Don't you dare faint because I only want to look after one person in this room today. And then she said, when I say to Mary, breathe and push and keep it coming, rest, 2, 3, and breathe, 2, 3, and push and keep it coming, you do it too. I've just brought back wonderful memories for half the congregation. Mary and I met 6 hours into her labour, which is an unusual circumstance within which to meet your birthing partner. She had very little small talk, mainly because she had no talk or breath at all. And from my vast experience of childbirth, I thought everything was going along very, very well, until the obstetrician arrived to do a procedure I wished I'd never witnessed in my life. I swear that analgesia would have been invented 1,000 years ago if men had to go through any of this. I think we would go on epidurals in about the 6th month. But the baby arrived minutes later. Mary wept. She had good reason to. I wept for no good reason. The charge nurse was weeping because I was weeping. There's something so primal, so human about the moment of birth that it bonds us to each other. Friendship born in the trenches took on a whole new meaning for me that day. And after the tears came the laughter and the joy. The reality of Mary's very, very tough social situation was happily postponed. Mary then found out that I was not a student doctor, but I was a student priest. But rather than be unhappy about this situation, she wondered whether this was a sign of blessing from God and that I was somehow some guardian angel for her son. She was delighted. On discharge, a couple of days later, Mary asked me to baptise her baby son. I couldn't, I wasn't yet ordained a deacon or a priest, but I did arrange for a priest's friend to do it. And I am, to this day, very proudly, Benjamin Michael's godfather. I stayed in touch with that family for the last 31 years. Mary went on to have 3 more sons to 3 different fathers in the next 4 years. Tommy, the last dad, became her husband and was father of one of the children biologically, but then later adopted all the other 3. So the 4 boys, he is their dad in every sense. When Benny was 4, I swung into my godfather duties and I went off to the local Catholic primary school in a very, very tough part of town, and I met the principal of that school, an Irish Sister of Mercy called Sister Mary St Francis Xavier. She was as formidable as her name. I was frightened of her. And she took a great interest in Benjamin and his brothers and gave them all scholarships to that local Catholic grade school and got her own brothers and sisters to sponsor all the other things they need: uniforms, tuition, books and extras. She made it very clear to Mary and to Tommy that she expected those 4 boys to be fed, cleaned, dressed, brought to school on time, and they had to do their homework. Sister told me that there was only on one occasion when she found out that all 4 boys were missing from school on a Monday. She assumed they must have all had the same illness. When they weren't there on Tuesday, she decided to get in the car and go around and pay the family a visit. On finding all 4 boys playing soccer in the backyard of their house, she demanded that they get dressed and come to school with her immediately. Mary told me it was one of the best things she could ever have done, because from that moment on, when any one of the sons did not want to get dressed and go to school, Mary used to say, "Get up and get going, or the wicked witch is going to pay another visit." They never missed another day at school. By high school, Sister Mary St Francis Xavier enrolled all those boys for scholarships to a Christian Brothers High School in Brisbane. Her family continued to pay all the extras that those kids needed. And on their own merits, each one of those boys won a place in that Christian Brothers High School. Sister Mary St Francis Xavier, she wins a place in heaven because she changed this family's life. Benjamin, my godson, now has a PhD in physical therapy and works in research at Imperial College London. His brother Daniel is an accountant with KPMG and works in New York City. Kai, the 3rd boy, is a social worker. He's back in the suburb where they all grew up, and it's still a rough and tough part of town. And the youngest is Noah. He's a nurse. Can you believe he's just finished a diploma in obstetrics? 25 years ago, I received Mary and Tommy into the Catholic Church, and I married them during that ceremony. Mary now volunteers with the St Vincent de Paul Society's local hostel for homeless women and for women who are suffering with domestic violence. She tells me that some of those girls are 16 and pregnant. Wouldn't it be extraordinary to fall into Mary's arms to say, "This story can go another way, and I can help you get there"? And she does. Last year, I joined that family to celebrate a couple of great events. It was Benjamin's 30th birthday. It was also his wedding day, at which I was honoured to preside to his marriage to Jessica. And we marked Tommy and Mary's 25 years of Christian marriage. It was quite a weekend. I couldn't say it's all been easy sailing for that family, but it proves that Bonaventure was on the money. Boy, was he right on that Sunday before Ash Wednesday. Because in being reborn during the Lenten period, we open ourselves up to one important reality. It doesn't matter where you start, it matters where Christ can finish it. Where Mary and Tommy and those boys started, it could have been a very different story. But what Christ was able to do for those who were open was to see that family reborn by the power of one great thing. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. 'Twas blind, but now I see. We're soon to be in Lent. That period where if we open our hearts and our lives to be reborn by amazing grace, we can know again how true it is. It's not where we're going to start Lent this year. It's where by God's love, Christ is going to finish it. Amen.